talking to myself again. But it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the thoughts I cannot say to you. If I don't say the words, then maybe it's not true. And it feels alright when they come and say.
Good evening, welcome to NUFC Matters. There might not be any Sean Ryder or Bez on this panel, but it's a very happy Monday to everybody watching today. And Sutty says, positives from the Spurs game. Everything NUFC did and touched during 90 minutes was gold. 2, we bounced back from last week. 3, we opened the top 4 gap. Negatives, the missus fancies Eddie Howe. Brilliant. Kevin, wow. Talk about contrasting shows and contrasting weeks. Last week, we were all down, disappointed, couldn't understand where that had come from. Today, we're going to be waxing lyrical about that 20 minutes, which, you know, it doesn't matter whether you were at the game live, whether you were watching it on the TV, whether you were listening to it on the radio, or whether you were getting notifications on your phone. You couldn't believe what you were seeing, hearing, or witnessing, could you?
No, mate, and I missed, obviously, last week's show, and it was, again, like you said, the contrast, but the big word I was using was response, and that's what I was going to say on the show, and that's what we got. We've said for weeks and months, some team's going to get one, and Tottenham got one yesterday, and I was within the WhatsApp group know that I was watching it with my 3 boys and stuff like that, and I wanted to thank George for his lovely message. The boys were almost in tears with what he said to them about the family memories, what we're going to create, and I was standing on my mantelpiece, just like, what in the world is going on? I mean, is this Newcastle United we're watching here, or is this some like FIFA game or whatever, you know? But at the same time, it was, you know, Spurs, like in my little thing, it's so Spursy because that's where they are. You know, we've said that for weeks, and it was just a pleasure to watch. It was an absolute pleasure to watch, and it could have been a lot more. It was crazy in my household. The dog was going wild. Our 3 kids were going absolutely nuts. You know, it was just again, it was a flashback to when I first started watching with the entertainers, and I think that's what they needed to actually prove after last weekend. Yes, it was a blip or whatever you can call it. That it's football, it happens. But it was just remarkable. You know, I've never seen anything like it in my life, to be honest. And I've seen plenty of football games, not as much as George, but you know, I've seen plenty in my time to see a more dominant display and being more comfortable within 20 minutes in all my playing days and all my coaching days and watching Newcastle United in any form of football in my life. And it was just fabulous to see. And, you know, if that's the benchmark now, the future's pretty bright going forward. So, yeah, it was just wonderful. You know, I'm still scratching my head at how it happened. You know, I think half the country or half the world who actually watched the game are still scratching their head in disbelief. Not in the bad sense, but in the like, what the hell's happened here? But, you know, I listened to Eddie Howe's press conference, and it was the response, and, you know, we'll go back to basics. We'll go how we want to play, and that's how we want to play. And look what we can do, apparently against the top 6 side. But again, the media bias is rife, and it stinks, and it's horrible. You know, even from this side of the pond, it's, oh, well, Tottenham weren't that great. Well, hold on. How about on the flip side of it, when Newcastle United were just full throttle, that was 5th gear, essentially, going at them from minute 1. And, I mean, again, the word I used to my missus, she wasn't here, but she was doing a bit of shopping. It was just carnage. It was just pure carnage, and I loved it.
Darren, fantastic game. Unbelievable, really.
Well, I thought it was April Fool's Day or something like that. Like 5-0 for 21 minutes. It's gone. I'm like, there's the wind up. We were shocked by like high 5. There's a wind up, something going on, but we battered them, didn't we? We were angry. And we let them a lesson. They were Tottenham turned up, relying on Harry Kane to save the day, get some sort of result for them. But that wasn't good enough for them. We played good football, and we were just constant at them, and from start to finish, it could have been a lot more. But it was just, the ought to be good. We'll stop at 6. You couldn't pick man of match. I know Joe Linton got man of match, but you couldn't pick man of match to be realistic. Like Willock's ball for Ajax's first goal. If that was De Bruyne, you would hear rains, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
What a ball! But take a bow, son. Andy Gray would say, "What a ball and how you played the ball." Ajax didn't have a break straight. Which is everything we've done was just fantastic. Revenge, that was angry performance. That's what we needed, and it was a good response. Tottenham turned up expecting to get a draw, get a 1-0 win away from home, but when their fans are leaving, 25 minutes gone, 5 hours down travelling by London and Newcastle, and their fans are leaving the stadium. That shows how embarrassing them were. So I'm over the moon.
Barry,
I've got a list. I created a list because I thought there's so many things that I want to bring up. So my first one is disappointment. The fact that in the first half we could have scored at least another 3 goals, and in the second half we could have gotten another 3. So it could have theoretically been 12. So that's my first disappointment. I have to say I raised my concerns for Tottenham's goalkeeper Hugo Lloris, because the story I heard is that after 25 minutes he had to go off with pains in his back from picking the ball out the net too many times. That's right.
I heard it was shock.
Unbelievable, Steve. I mean, I've written down the bits. I've watched the highlights over and over again. It's got to be one of them matches like the Man U game that you're just going to watch. The club have got to bring it out on DVD because it was just so good to watch. I put Dan Burns, little cheeky hack back heel that he did early on in the first half. I thought, hang on a minute, is this Bruno or is this Dan Burn knocking him with the back of his foot? Alexander Isaac, he came running forward with the ball. He lost it. The guy turned and went away from him. Isaac went chasing after him, shoulder charged the guy off the ball, collected the ball and started running again. I was like, hang on, this guy's like Will-o'-the-Wisp. And he's just creamed one of the Tottenham defenders off the ball. Bruno was standing in front of the crowd, one section of the crowd, and they must have been fairly quiet also because he started there and going, come on. The crowd was screaming his name. It was just little Miggy coming back on with his grin for me at AN. Obviously, he set up the Wilson goal. He just looked absolutely superb. And obviously, Darren's pinched me other one, which was Willock's pass for Isaac's goal. I have to say that was just absolute class. It was one of the best passes I've seen for quite a while. Totally agree with you guys. Longstaff, what a difference with him in the team. Whether that was the big change they needed to settle the midfield, but they just looked, they worked, every position worked. I thought Isaac ran amok. I thought Joe Linton was unbelievable. After seeing Murphy again for me, I felt so sorry for the guy when he was taken off because I thought he's on a hat trick. You can't take Murphy off. He could get 3 here. He was running amok, but yeah, just unbelievable. I've watched it over and over again, almost as many times as I've watched the Tottenham fans walking away after 25 minutes and I'm waving bye-bye as they walk down St. James's Boulevard to the train station. And I thought, that just shows that how far we've come, that will have that effect on somebody, that it's just would demolish them completely. Like Darren says, it destroyed them. It's such a good game. And the thing Kev said about it's the payback for last week. It's exactly the reaction we wanted. And for me, that is Tottenham out of the European places. So it's another team off the list who can catch us. And come on, bring on Everton. That's all I can say. Yeah,
bring on Everton, indeed. Over to you, Alan. Positivity.
Well, I echo everything everybody said. Like, lads, we're all on cloud 9. I mean, Joe Linton's touch for that second goal, as well as the pass. I mean, it was a carbon copy of the West Ham goal. So, lads, they must be practicing it and training because it was absolute double of the West Ham goal away. Joe Linton going back and then running onto the ball and Shaw just spraying the ball around, and that touch was absolutely fantastic. Could you have seen Joe Linton doing that 2 years ago? No chance. Eddie Howe has improved so many players, and Murphy now is like basically believing in himself. We know we need better players, but what a great squad player to have. When we need players that's back up, they come on and he gives his all. Like he said in the interview after the game, I'm here when I'm required, and what an attitude, great attitude to have. What can I say, lads? Just after 20 minutes, all my nerves had gone. I mean, I've done more star jumps, jumping up from my chair than I've done in about 20 years. I was fitter than I've ever been in 20 minutes than I have over the last year doing me running. I mean, I was up and down. And I had to calm my wife down because she was sick of us shouting. But absolutely brilliant, lads. It's a joy to be a Newcastle fan, isn't it? Everybody in the chat now. I've been buzzing since I played it as well, Barry, a couple of times. I was up 3 o'clock this morning watching the game, man. Stupid, really, but just going through it all. And the hardest part about it to everybody is keep my feet on the ground because everything's going to be absolutely massive and it's going to be really tough. And you know what? They're going to have 10 men behind the ball. So we're going to have to find ways and get past them, The first goal on Thursday is going to be so crucial. I think if we score the first on Thursday, we'll win the game. But I just don't want it to pan out like last year because me, Stephen, the lads, I want everything relegated. But roll on, happy times, lads. I'm over the moon. It's what Darren, Kevin and Barry have said, the pass from Willock was absolutely fantastic and roll on, roll on. Happy times. And I just want that everybody to concentrate on the Thursday night and long may it continue. It's still a long way to go, but like I said last week, I think winning yesterday was like halfway there. We're halfway there because it's basically, the other teams now have got to play each other. So if we keep winning, there's nothing Liverpool, even some Liverpool fans are saying we can still catch Newcastle. No way. If we keep winning, there's no way they'll do it.
Yeah, it's in our hands. George?
Well, as you can imagine, I'm just as elated as all the lads. Even though my eyesight isn't brilliant, I saw enough of what I needed to see on Sunday to see 30 minutes of football that I haven't seen since the Entertainers, and that's how I put it. I mean, Kevin's right. I mean, in even in my experience, I've not seen a half an hour like that where a Newcastle team has been not just dominated, been absolutely clinical. They could have had 20 men in the defence. It wouldn't have mattered. We still would have scored those goals. It was so clinical and on point. And to echo all the things the lads are saying, the pass, Willock's pass. It's only a couple of weeks ago, Steve, you and I did and those were the days, the Terry Hibbert pass in the 74 semi-final to McDonald. And I said to you, that's one of the best passes I've ever seen in football, either playing or watching football all the years I've been involved. Well, it got beat on Sunday. The difference with Willock's was two differences. One, he did it with the outside of his foot. And second, he had to get it past about 4 or 5 defenders, where Terry Hibbert's was a over the top of one defender. Still a fantastic pass, but Willock's pass just surpassed it on Sunday. And Joe Linton, well, somebody who I used to crucify 2 years ago. I used to come home and my poor wife used to ask what it was like, and I always used to say, well, there's one shirt they'll not even have to wash because he never gets a bloody sweat on, and that was Joe Linton. I'm eating my words now, well and truly, and I do praise Eddie Howe for that. It was just unbelievable. But the other slightly annoying thing about that was at West Ham, when Shaw did that and Joe Linton scored at West Ham, Jamie Redknapp was cheeky enough and stupid enough to say that he thought he shanked it. That he wasn't intended. Well, Jamie, there was a carbon replay for you to watch, and you didn't have the guts to say how good it was yesterday. So, stick your football knowledge up your trumpet, mister, because you need to open your eyes a little bit. See some real football. I thought I was the blind one. But, you know, that's what he said. We thought Shaw's West Ham shanked it. Well, he didn't. And the rest of it is, you've covered it very nicely. But there's so much of it I've enjoyed from my point of view and my age. Kevin's right. I welled up when I seen Kevin with his 3 lads and realised that the littlest one was probably just a little bit older than I was when I saw my first game in 1945. And my 2 uncles, who are more like 2 big brothers, were determined to get me into St James's Park. And they took us to see the Cup tie. And that's the beginning of it all for me. So seeing all of that. And then somebody else, it was at Don Charlton, had his girl on, a 2.5-year-old, singing the Bruno song. And she knew every word. And I thought, well, that's why they call it the beautiful game. You know, it worries me that all these idiots with the money at the top, like Bowley and Levy and all the rest of it, are going to knacker the thing as a fun thing for people like those kids. And that would worry me terribly, because that's the enjoyment I've got out of it for the last 70 odd years. And it started in the same way as Kevin has with his lads, and that little girl was as well. Just celebrating a victory and celebrating what was good about Newcastle that day. So all of that's been important to me as well. So, the other thing is I've had to go at 1 or 2 people who are inventing stories again about where, you know, there's this guy who put on Newcastle have got the biggest net spend in Europe apart from Chelsea. Come on, where did you get that? Whoa. I counted the Spurs squad against ours, and that Spurs squad against us on Sunday was 2.5 times more money than we've spent on my whole squad. And you know, and then they go on and on about you know, we're making a sob story about the comeback. Anybody that looks at us discompassionately can see what a fantastic job the owners, the manager, and the players have got to sign up for all this hard work that Eddie Howe gives them. Otherwise, he's got no chance. And the other thing I'd say about the previous thing about we bought our way, 9 of the lads in that match day squad on Sunday played for Bruce. They were there for 2 years of bloody Bruce ball and still got over that. And Eddie Howe's brought them through that and made them better. No, I'll talk the rest of the night, so I'll let somebody else have a word.
I think we all could, George. I think we all could.
Yeah. Okay, Ian, over to you, pal.
Steve, don't put us after George again, will you?
You actually messaged me today and said I've got a long list of things to discuss. I thought probably everyone's covered them now.
I fucking did have. I haven't anymore. No, they were mint, weren't they? Where can I start? First of all, I think I need to apologise to Big Dan Byrne, because I was one of the people saying pull him. He's lost it. His legs have gone, and I can't remember what other rubbish I was speaking last week. But he was absolutely flipping mint, wasn't he? He was. It was his best performance that I've seen him play. Definitely 100% at fullback. You know, left back. He was absolutely brilliant. No one got past him. I think he had 4 he won all his tackles. He was just mint, you know, and he wasn't outpaced. I think from the second it kicked off, I knew we were going to have a good day, because it was like we were like a pack of rabid bloody dogs or something charging after them, and they were like a load of startled rabbits. They didn't know what the flipping heck was going on, you know. We were closing down. The closing down was unbelievable. The press was brilliant. They all worked together. Isak led it. He was on a mission. Like, he was not. He didn't give up one ball in the whole game, not for a second. And the front three were pressing, but the whole team was, you know, the press together, and that was the difference. You know, his commitment and effort, fitness, and obviously his tactics as well. You know, Eddie's got his tactics spot on. So they couldn't have come back with a better response to the performance that we gave the week before. I just thought they were absolutely mint, and like everybody else has said, there was the obvious things, like that were amazing. Isak's goals. Since Shearer, there's never been a Toon striker where I've just gone. He scores every time for me. It was never in doubt. When he was running through, I'm like, that's a goal.
Yeah,
that's a goal.
Right, Ian.
Both the Joes, big and not so big, were amazing. The pass was amazing. I thought Shah was brilliant, apart from his cock up for the goal, which we'll let him off with. Shah, the tackle that he made. So I can't remember. Was it? I can't remember who went through and scored. He made a tackle on the halfway line. He just comes charging through the lad, took the ball, little bit of the man, but it wasn't a foul. On another day, with a worse ref. That ref, by the way, was actually half decent for once. Yeah. He let the ones that we didn't get, that we thought we should have got, they didn't get as well. And I'm okay with that, as long as it's a level playing field. He let a few go that I thought should have been blown for, and I thought they were kicking lumps as usual out of Bruno. But yeah, I thought Cher was excellent. He was excellent as well. They all were, to be honest. I couldn't pick fault with any of them really. So yeah, that's the best I can do after you, George.
Good to have Az on as well. As we know, he likes to have a little bit of a wind up in the chat. He says, fair play, Steve, to Newcastle. Quality 5 goals in 21 minutes. Credit where credit is due. And to be honest, it's one of those moments that you just don't expect as a football fan to see your team be so ruthless and clinical. But everything Newcastle hit went in. And I don't often comment, but I think I will on this occasion. Newcastle's team certainly turned up and put it right. The performance the previous week might have had something to do with tying this, as Bill's suggesting in the chat. But you know what? It's an amazing feat that they've gone through a season like they have done, so consistent, and it, that was almost as if the season had culminated in that 1 20-minute spell. That sums up Newcastle's season. And I agree with you, Ian. I think I don't think I've seen a striker at Newcastle probably since Loic Remy. I often talk about him on here. Probably one of the best loan signings in recent times, who, when he got that opportunity going one-on-one, you just knew that ball was going to end up in the back of the net. And yesterday, I had no doubt when he got that ball from Willock that he was going to, get another goal for Newcastle. And his stats, when you think about it, we spent 60 plus million on him, but ultimately that money we've spent has been repaid, in abundance so far, with 10 goals, I think it is, in 15 games. And
if we're getting the Champions League, Steve. Exactly.
And I agree as well with everybody's comments about the media. Although it should never be, unexpected with what happens in the media. It was obvious from last night and then this morning that they were going to say that Spurs had an off day. It's all become about Spurs, and Kevin, as most of you will have seen in the chat there, has just confirmed what we all knew was going to happen, that Stellini's been sacked and Ryan Mason has now taken temporary charge. But I'll reiterate what I said on the Amigos, and that is that the problem at clubs such as Tottenham, Chelsea and Manchester United is very simple. It's not the managers in the dugout, it's the owners in the boardroom. And for me, the fact that Levy has run Spurs the way that he's run it is a big issue for them, and I think he needs to consider his position there. If he loves Spurs so much, he maybe needs to think about moving on. I still believe, and this is my feelings, that Bowley is simply a front man for the previous owner, who I believe is still operational in some way, shape or form at Chelsea, and will return like the prodigal son at some point if the war in Ukraine ever ends. And I think Manchester United, well, we all know the problem there. The Yanks are in charge, and they've got no intention on relinquishing charge of Manchester United. And you know what? It couldn't have come at a better time, our takeover. The stars have aligned for Newcastle. The sleeping giant is a sleeping giant no more. And I think you look at what has developed in this last 18 months, Howe deserves an immense amount of credit, because we certainly haven't bought our way, to top three. We've been very shrewd. We've been very careful. We've played by the rules, and we've respected the FFP rules, which is what we had to do. Nothing to do with the fact that our takeover has come via Saudi, and we're watching what we do. We're following the rules, which is what other people maybe should take a leaf out of our book and do. But It's like people are saying in the chat, it is an amazing time to be a Newcastle United fan, and
Absolutely.
you can't say that we deserve it, because there's nothing different between us and the other 89 clubs in all leagues, right? All football fans deserve something for the loyalty that they show and the hard-earned cash that they spend at the turnstiles. And from my perspective, we've just, we've done what you do as supporters. We've supported the team through thick and thin. We've gone home and away. We've been through good times and we've been through bad times. And, you just support your team, and it's as simple as that. And we, as the ones who are the current supporters, going to the game, going to the ground, we're the lucky ones, and some of us are lucky because we saw all of this originally. We saw all of this when Kevin Keegan was here. But you know what? It was a lovely stat on the TV this morning, and it was a breakdown of the different managers and the different seasons that we had in the Premier League. And Eddie Howe is literally on course to beat Kevin Keegan's points records in the season that we came back into the Premier League and the season that we nearly won the league. I think he's 4 or 5 points away from doing it. It was on Match of the Day 2 last night, and Jermaine Jenis put it up on the screen and was talking about it. And he was in the Bobby Robson team, and we're 4 points away from breaking that and a few points away from breaking Keegan's record. So that tells you where this team's at, and it's amazing. It's an amazing time.
Just the thing, I seen Eddie Howe did an interview on Sky Sports, don't know where it was from. He said basically money doesn't buy you happiness. And I don't know when that came from. I just seen that today, and that's very true. Look at all the other 6 or 5, or the top clubs, whatever you want to call them. And money doesn't buy happiness, even life. Money doesn't buy happiness, essentially. And that was profound statements from Eddie Howe. We're playing again, like you said, we're playing by the rules. We're doing it right, and we're spending wisely. And so again, money's money, yes, but does it always guarantee you what you expect the money you spend to bring in, or success or happiness within your life, or whatever it is? So yeah, it was a quite profound statement. So I completely agree what you said. So I just seen that, and I thought I'd just
I thought after the match that Eddie Howe showed his man management skills when he was talking to the guys on the pitch after the game, and particularly when he spoke to Danny Rose. I mean, anybody with half an eye can see that Danny Rose has been in a dark place. So very, very brave of him to come back yesterday. But when he spoke to Eddie Howe engaged and got on with him and encouraged him to be involved, etc., in a way in which he would. And I thought, well, that's a measure of the guy. It's not just about money and position and all the rest of it. Eddie Howe knows it's about people, and that's very important.
Yeah, yep. I would certainly agree with that. And just a couple of comments before I go to the ads. Ian says that, but the pundits keep saying we time waste when we use the dark arts and the ball's never in play. Yeah, I mean that's just the press, mate, and that's always going to happen. And didn't Manchester United look as if they've learned how to do the dark arts in that in that game yesterday, where they got to Wembley for the second time this season by speaking to penalty takers as they were going up to take the spot kicks in the penalty shootout. And I saw
nothing's ever changed with them, like.
And I seen a few players go towards the crowd and giving it this. I thought, I wonder who they've been watching and where they've got these little ideas from, because it's certainly flattering for Newcastle United. Okay, we're halfway through the show. Time for the ads.
A big thanks to all our sponsors: Skips and Bins, telephone 0800 25 45 25 3, email inquiries at skipsandbins.com, website skipsandbins.com, easy contract free and pay as you go waste collection. Thanks also to Mr. Vicky's, handmade in Cumbria. These sauces are really hot stuff. You can order them by emailing info@mrvickys.co.uk or by telephoning 01768 210 102. Thanks to Neil and the guys at Media Arts for all the help with the video side of things. And thanks to qtechshop.co.uk, the makers of pool tables and snooker tables in Wallsend, Newcastle, and the guys who run our website, NUFCmatters.com. If you want to subscribe to the show, hit the subscribe button tonight. It is free. Hit the thumb up under the video to like the video and click share to share to your other social media. If you want to join the channel, hit join. There's 3 different tiers. Pick the one that suits you and help support the channel financially. If you want to pay a one-off membership fee of £25 and get these goodies, a scarf, a pen, a cup, and entry into the monthly draw, then go to NUFC Matters and look for membership pack. Failing that, get your smartphone and put it over the QR code and it will take you straight there. We're also a podcast and you can find us on iTunes, Spotify, Podbean and other podcast providers. Usually goes up 24 hours after the show has finished. We also support the food bank on this channel. If you want to make a virtual donation today at the Matchday Bucket, go to nufcfansfoodbank.co.uk and you can make a deposit today. Don't forget to enter the Shearer raffle. There's 150 tickets, £1 per ticket, and you can win a limited edition signed Alan Shearer ball. Enter now at nufcmatters.com. If you have a look on our website, we've also got a vast range of mugs, t-shirts, cups, and whatever else takes your fancy. The Isaac t-shirt is proven popular this month, $16.99 plus delivery from nufcmatters.com. Don't forget as well, we do a range of events over the course of the year. We have Peter Beardsley, an up-close and personal evening at the Tynemouth Surf Cafe. Limited tickets remain, 25th of April. Get them now from Surf Cafe, tynemouth.co.uk or from ticketweb.uk. There's also an evening with Peter Beardsley on May the 19th at the Tyneside Irish Centre, and you can get tickets from newcastlelegends.com, and tickets are £50. Don't forget our end of season do takes place 27th of May, 7 o'clock at the Tyneside Irish Centre. Tickets for that one are a tenner, and nufcmatters.com is where you can get your tickets for that. In June, Thursday the 1st of June to be precise, Rob Lee will be at Louis Liquor Store in the Big Market in Newcastle, and tickets for that are available direct from the venue. And an evening with Rob Lee, Lee Clark and John Beresford takes place the next evening on Friday the 2nd of June at the Grand Hotel in Gosforth. This is a charity event and tables are of £10, £700, and you can book them by contacting Natalie at heelandtour.org.uk or visiting their website. In July, Gavin Peacock is in Newcastle on July the 10th at the Tyneside Irish Centre. Tickets for that are available from nufcmatters.com. And he also takes an evening with at the Surf Cafe in Tynemouth on the 11th of July. So get your tickets direct from the venue for that one as well. And if you're a boxing fan, the Night of Champions, Ricky Hatton, Frank Bruno, Nigel Benn and Joe Calzaghe takes place at the Fed. And that will be taking place on the 16th of June. More dates to be added. Tickets from all those events, www.goldstarpromotions.co.uk.
Okay, second half of the show. Let's look ahead to the next 2 games, lads, and just see where we'll go from here. The early injury news is, of course, ESM. Is still not going to be ready for the game, although after that performance I think it'll probably be an unchanged team as long as Fabian Schär makes it. He went off during the Spurs game, unspecified injury. Seemed to be okay on the sidelines, it has to be said, and he's a lad, a tough lad, so unless it's something major, one would imagine he might still be available. But yeah, looking ahead to that game. And then, of course, the game of the weekend, Newcastle back in action again. There's 3 games for, I think, most teams this week. And Newcastle will be back in action this weekend against Southampton, which is at home, of course, at St James's Park, 2 o'clock again on television. So, Kevin, these 2 games, I mean, depending on results elsewhere, this really could be the biggest week in our season because after such a comprehensive win against one of our rivals, we're now taking on 2 teams who aren't clear of relegation. And you would hope Newcastle could get maximum points out of these two games. And depending where we go with the other results, Spurs could be out of it by then. And, there could be a new potential threat, I guess, to a top 4 place, on the rails, because Liverpool and Brighton will have games to play. Liverpool haven't given up the chase, as we know. And, of course, Manchester United, are probably the biggest threat to third place for us. So what's your thoughts on these two games? What do you want to see? What are you expecting to see?
Well, you're going to go down to Everton and play a short, nice side, so you know what you're going to get. It's going to be hard work. It's going to be graft. It's going to be long balls. It's going to be not kick everything above grass, but, got a bit of time for Sean Dyche. I think he's genuinely a British manager. He does what he does, and you expect what you're going to get. It is what it is. But I think if we prepare right, and I think Eddie Howe will do that, because I think we're being done over the top. We're being done with long balls, with pace and things like that in previous games, not obviously Sunday, but the long ball generally outdoes us somehow. But if Fabian Schär isn't available, even if he is available, you could put Lascelles in there and just win that first ball long, because I think he's a decent header of the ball. He can get in there first. Yes, he might be not the best on the ball on the ground, but again, it's chalk and cheese with Southampton. I mean, they like to try and get the ball down and play, and it's two different completely games. But I think if we just do what we do well, especially away from home, start bright, don't let the Scousers get into the game in terms of the crowd, because it can be quite a what's the word, raucous, angry atmosphere when you go down to Goodison Park. If you quieten them down in early, like we did against Tottenham, not saying we're going to score 5 in 20 minutes, but that'd be nice. But if we control the game and how we play it, if we maintain possession of the ball, make them chase, make them run, stop the long ball, things like that, then I think it will come away with a positive result. Not saying we're going to smash them, who knows, but that's all depending on the preparation from Eddie Howe and what he does with these tactics. I think it's pretty obvious in terms of what Sean Dyche will do. It's not, look what he's done at Burnley for 10 years. So, I think we'll come away with a win from Thursday night game. The Southampton one, it's, they had a positive result for them, positive in terms of a 3-3 against Arsenal, but they play a completely different way. I'm looking for, I'll go with 6 points over the next 2 games, however they come. That's, truth be, we'll see how that plays out. But we control our own destiny. I don't care, regardless of who's chasing, how many games we've got, who's got what. I think we're in the driver's seat to push Man United, because Man United they've got a game in hand, but they're not. It is what it is. So we'll just see how it plays out further down the road. But I think we'll get 6 points out the next 2 games and control our own destiny and push for that. I think, jumping in again, fully in Alan Board, I'm sitting right beside him. We'll get third place.
Yeah, I genuinely feel you're right. I think it's going to be a hell of a week. But I think we've got enough to beat both of those teams and beat them both convincingly. So let's hope we can carry the momentum on. Darren, two big games, mate. One away, one at home. Tom Dixon said he'd love to see Gordon score on Thursday night. I think Gordon would love to as well. He was really unlucky yesterday with that shot that he had.
Yeah, he was. But I think Thursday, just don't concede in the first 10, 15 minutes. That's the most important bit. And I think Eddie Howe said it on his interview at the game. Focus on Everton now after the game. He said that straight away. I'm convinced he's told the players, might have won the day, but I don't want to do a Liverpool by beating, say, when they won 7-0 and got beat off the next game. So I'm sure, convinced Eddie Howe will make sure the players are switched on and they are focused and to do a professional job down there. It'll be a physical game. It'll be a dirty game of Everton. They're scrapping for points badly, but I do think we'll get a result down there. I think we'll win 2-1. And then we'll go again on Sunday against Southampton again. Yes, they played good the other day, but if get the crowd involved at home, I can't see why we can 6 points in the next 2 games.
Barry?
Yeah, I think the same. I think the Everton game will be the tough one, simply because it's away. I think Southampton's away record is absolutely terrible. And I think the confidence that we'll pick up from the crowd, especially with the Spurs game behind us, I don't think the home game's anything to worry about. Everton will get stuck in. They can be dirty at times. Dyke is he's a decent manager. I think they'll put up more of a fight than they have done a lot of the games. Gordon, you know for a fact he's going to be desperate to play and he's going to be desperate to do well. But how many times does that rebound when somebody gets overexcited and you'd be concerned that his temperament. I'm still not 100% sure about Gordon. I know you guys were talking about it with when you were on with Liam, Steve, about, I think Liam put the nail on the head that Gordon may not be the best. He may not be a future Newcastle star. He may well be the best player we've got in that position at the time, that we may look to improve on Gordon at some stage. And I think that is possibly spot on. I think he's it's like, it reminds me of Scott Sellers at Newcastle. When we bought Scott Sellers, he was the best player at the time in that position. But then we went on and improved on Scott Sellers when we bought Ginola. And it was, I don't know with Gordon. I mean, I'd love the kid to do it. Don't get us wrong, especially against his old club. But there's something not right for me. I don't know. But yeah, I think we're more than capable of getting the 6 points. And if we do, I think that's virtually it for us. If we can put those 6 points in the bag, I think the European place is virtually guaranteed. And like Kev said there, don't worry about what other teams are doing. If we can pick up 6 points, who cares what Liverpool are doing? They're still going to be behind us. We're going for it. Tottenham, I think, hopefully have fallen by the wayside now. So just come on, lads. Go for it.
I agree with you, Gary Milliken. He says we'll not see the best of Gordon until next season. Give him that summer with Eddie Howe, and I think we'll see a much better player. But at the moment, it's very difficult to come into a side that's doing well in that January window and hit the ground running. And like Isaac, he got a bad injury, and he was out for a couple of games, upset his momentum. But I think he's young enough and he's clever enough to learn, and I think he'll do all right. Alan, your feelings over the next 2 games, big week?
Yeah, it's massive. I think Thursday night, lads, I think the first goal is crucial. If we get the first goal, I think we'll go on and win it. If Everton get it like last year, they'll sit deep and it'll be one of them very frustrating games because it was just like last year, it was so frustrating. We had controlled the game and the score near the end of the game. So I do believe if we score first, the crowd will get on their backs, lads. I really do, because the pressure is all on Everton now. Their away form is terrible. And so they know the 3 home games they've got is crucial for them. And they've got Man City to them after us. And then they've got Bournemouth on the last day. The other fixtures fall nicely for the lads, in the sense that if we win these 2 games, we're definitely in Europe. In the top 6, I think, because Man United play Spurs and then they play Aston Villa. So depending on how you feel about Man United, if they beat them both, there's 2 of our main rivals, Spurs and Aston Villa, knocked down. And if we win 2 games, it's going to be about a 10-point gap, lads. 10-point gap with 4 or 5 games to play for them, 5 games for us. And then we're going to the game with Arsenal, having a free hit, really, and seeing Arsenal on Friday night, they were no great shakes at the back. So my fear factor of the Arsenal game is slightly diminished, and especially if they get hammered up Man City on Wednesday night and the title is virtually in Man City's hands after that. So definitely, like the lads have said, if we get 6 points here, lads, we're definitely in Europe, and then it's depending on, is it Europa or Champions League after that, in my opinion. But yeah. Fingers crossed, lads. Fingers crossed.
George, 2 big games this week. Yeah. They're all cup finals now, aren't they? But for the right reasons this time.
Well, I think last week, Steve, I said I had a feel in my stomach they were going to hammer Tottenham. I didn't think it would be like what it was, but I just felt that they were right for us to come back after Villa and take something out of them. And I still got that very upbeat feeling about the team after Sunday. And there's nothing to stop them going to Everton, and I think we'll get a 2-0 win. And I think we'll beat Southampton 3-0 on the Sunday, and we'll be on our way to Europe. I didn't think there's any doubt of that for me. A lot of chat about whether Gordon should play or not. I've got an opinion about Anthony Gordon like I have about a lot of young players, and that's the key, young. When he gets in, he's busting a gut to do well. So he overstretches for balls. He over tackles for balls. He wants to show he's there in the game, and it happens with a lot of young players. The young kid that came on at Chelsea, who we were rumoured about, the midfielder, blonde midfielder, the whatever his name is, Gallagher. He was the same and got on a couple of games and was getting booked every game, and then all of a sudden when he had 2 games on the trot, he calmed down and he started to play, and that'll happen to Gordon. I think you're right. You lads are right. A close season with Eddie Howe, and you'll see a different Anthony Gordon. But I think there's a quality player in there, and if I at least would have him on the bench on Thursday, if nothing else, just to upset the Everton fans as much as anything. But I think it'll be a 2-0 on Thursday and a 3-0 on Sunday.
Okay, Ian, maximum points all round so far. You going for the same?
Yeah, definitely. I think the Everton game is going to be an hard game. Hopefully they don't have the 12th man stapling himself or whatever he did to the goalpost to cock it up for us this time. I'll not say what I was thinking of saying about him, but because it's before the watershed. But I think it'll be an hard game. But I think we'll comfortably win. I can't see. I don't think Eddie will change the team anyway. But I can't see. Even if he was to change the team, I couldn't see him putting Gordon in that position because he's. For me, it'd be a red card waiting to happen because he'd be so fired up for it, and obviously the crowd and everything. So I think he'd be a good person to bring on once we've got it sewn up and let him have his little jog around it towards the end and annoy all the Everton fans. That'd be good. Yeah, I can't see as long as we play. Obviously, we're not going to win 6-1 every week, but if we play with the intensity that we did yesterday, which there's 5 days gone, if we've got the full team out, like a great point on Lascelles, by the way. Yeah, I thought I was actually thinking it probably got Lascelles written all over this game, to be honest. So if Cher wasn't able to start, I think Lascelles would actually thrive against them. So yeah, I'm going 3 points both games, and I think that the win against Tottenham was I think that for me was the crunch game. I think when you look at all the fixtures, which I know a lot of us have done, and I've been doing it time and time again with Tommy and just looking at them, and I'm like, that's a draw. Whoever wins that is stitching the other one up, and then there's so many. Everyone's got to play everybody apart from us, really. We've got Brighton and Arsenal at home.
Yeah.
And I think we win both those games. I don't know whether I haven't been drinking either. I don't drink now, do I? So,
nothing wrong with a bit of confidence, and you can see why. We've just won. I think somebody made the point earlier about let's hope the team don't get complacent after that result last week. It's okay for fans to get confident, Ian. It's okay for us to be overconfident, but as long as the management and the players don't do that, they keep on doing the job that they've been doing all season. I think the rest will take care of itself. And the different permutations with results, you can do your head in. I mean, look at the show I did with Ben Jacobs, where we tried to predict the end of the season. It's so difficult, isn't it?
Yeah. I don't think the complacency, I think a little bit of complacency did come in against Villa, and Villa are also very good that game. I can't see that happening again this season. They've had the kick up the arse, and Sunday showed, what that's done to them. They don't want that to happen again. So I just can't see anything but 3 points. If it was a draw, it's not the end of the world, but I think we've got enough to do both those teams easily.
10 minutes left. I'll start with you on this one, Ian. A couple of people have mentioned Callum Wilson not looking too happy when he scored. I mean, he's not going to be happy, is he? Because he's fit probably for the first time this season and he can't get a start. And he's coming on. And when he comes on, he's doing the job. He's putting the ball in the back of the net. It's easy to read something that you might want to read into his face. I'm not saying it's a negative. I'm saying it's a positive because he wants to play because Newcastle are playing some great stuff and he's not getting that start. And Isak is rightly starting ahead of him, I feel, at the moment.
Yeah, he's not stupid as well, is he? You know, he's not a thick lad. He looks on the pitch and he sees that Isak's playing at a level above at the moment and probably will do. So he's got a decision to make at the end of the season. But I know what you mean on what people are saying about his face. He didn't celebrate the goal as much as he usually probably would have done, but he's always pretty cool in them situations if you actually look at him because he's got that cockiness about him, where he's just a bit like, yeah, piece of piss, you know, it's not a problem. Like, so I don't read anything into that. I just think he obviously wants to play. He'll get his chance if he stays next season, which I hope he does because he's bloody good coming off the bench, isn't he? You know what I mean? So if he does stay next season, he's going to get plenty of opportunities, and I think he'll probably be aware of that. So unless we get a big offer or he wants to go, there's a lot of games to be played. A lot of games to be played next season.
Yeah, no, there definitely is. George, Callum Wilson. It's a bit too much. To take in, I guess. You know, we've won, and I don't want this to be a negative part of the show. I don't think we should have any negativity in the day. But Blue Rhythm Boys, I think Wilson was humbled by McGinn last week, so it's calmed down this week. Maybe he's just like, you know, Ian says, it's just he's a cool customer. There's a little bit of arrogance in there as well. But what's your thoughts? I think Howe's getting it right.
And so do I, and I think the arrogance thing's a good thing in a striker. I mean, I haven't known a good striker that wasn't arrogant in some way, either on or off the pitch, sometimes both. So, yeah, I think that's where Callum Wilson is. But he's a seasoned professional. You know, it's not as though he's a kid. Callum's, you know, we're talking about somebody 30 plus. So he's a seasoned professional. And he's got two choices, hasn't he? He sticks with the team ethic, or he knows he's on his bike anyway at the end of the season. And I don't think he's daft enough to want to do that while things are going the way they are at St. James's Park. I think he's one of the ones that's bought into it and he'll want to stay as part of it. The other thing is that he had a sample of what him and Isak can do together at Brentford. That you know, people seem to have forgotten that was a huge success. I don't think Eddie Howe's going to forget that either. So there'll be occasions when he'll get his chance and he'll get his chance alongside Isak. But he's a seasoned professional. I don't see Callum Wilson rocking the boat at this stage of the season when things are going the way they are. And if he does, well, hard luck, Bonnie lad, you're on your way. If it's that
I think
bad.
you're right. I don't see him doing it. Look, in the short space of time, we've gone from relegation canned fodder to Champions League hopefuls. He's managed to get an England call up and gone to the World Cup finals, and now he's on the brink of playing in the Champions League for the first time. Anyone thinking about leaving, I think will be given the head a shake.
Absolutely.
I can't see Callum Wilson wanting to leave. Can you, Alan?
No, but I echo what George and Ian said. I mean, to be honest with you, Steve, when you're 5-1 up and you score a goal to make it 6-1, I don't think you're going to celebrate emotionally as much as if it was a winner.
Yeah,
you just do it. It's like showing respect to the opposition as well, you know. And if you've seen Isak and Wilson together after the game, they were laughing and joking on, Steve. It was great to see. They were hugs, and, you know, and everything. So they know the script, and I echo what George says. He's a seasoned professional. And let's face it, lads, the Man United team had 4 in the 90s and 90s, 4 top-class strikers. Now we've got 2 that are very good. Yeah. Now we need at least one more, and maybe even a youngster on the bench next year. So Wilson's going to go down the pecking order a natural course of you know how football works, lads. So like George says, if he's unhappy now, he's going to be even more happy next year when I'm sure if we get Champions League, they're already talking that we'll need 5-6 players, maybe 3 or 4 top quality players and 2 or 3 youngsters to supplement the squad next year. So he's going even further down the pecking order in the year to come, lads. So I didn't read anything into it, his celebration, not really going absolutely all out for it, because it was 5-1 at the end of the day, lads. So, and yet, if you saw them at the end of the game, they were really happy. 2 quality strikers, and I think we need another one in it as well. Anyway, for next year, at least one.
Barry, your thoughts on the Wilson thing? I mean, I just think gradually he'll be phased out, but I think he'll have a big part to play next year, and I think he'll stay, and I think I think he'll flourish, and I think Alan's right. I think we do need a new striker, and I think we'll probably bring one in as well, and that's what it's all about: phasing people in, bringing new faces through. And I hasten to add that anyone who maybe missed the game yesterday at St James's Park, don't worry, because there's more of those games coming. I fully expect. I said to somebody yesterday, I would be very surprised at some point if Newcastle don't go and beat that Premier goal scoring record at some point, because that's the kind of football they play. They go for it. When they hit form, they hit form. And how many times, I think most of us on this panel at one point said, some team's going to get a good hiding. And, it's proved to be, not once but twice in recent weeks. West Ham copping 5, now Spurs copping 6. 2 really decent teams in recent years as well, So, Wilson will be part of it, Barry, I'm sure. And I wouldn't read too much into that look.
I think he's got at least another season where he's guaranteed to be there or thereabouts. I think how during the close season he'll get the two of them working together. So he's giving himself more options, that he can play Wilson up front, he can play Isak up front. The only difference, I think, is Wilson's injury record. He's got to now try and find a way of playing him at his best, but avoiding him getting injured. Isaac's not going to be missing from the starting lineup because he looks class. He's getting stronger and stronger. He's getting more and more games going on. But there will be times when we need 2, like you say, guys, 3 strikers. I mean, with the European games chucked in, he's probably going to get a lot more chances than he would without them. So it's common sense. I think Callum's a professional. He's a bloody good player. I think he'll have known himself that he wasn't 100% right in the last, sort of 3 or 4 games ago. He was struggling. He's now looking back to his best, but whether or not he could do that if Isaac wasn't there, if he was being expected to play a full game, maybe this is ideal for him at the minute to come on and make that difference. He's shown his class again because he's taking his chances when he's on the field. No, I think he's the right sort of player we need, but I do agree with Alan. I think we need another one, possibly like you said before there, Steve, somebody younger, to come in and learn from the other 2 and somebody to come through gradually. But yeah, no, Callum will be there next season. I think he'll do another sterling job for us.
Not very often I get caught out with a sneeze, but that was the moment.
Oh dear.
Darren.
Bless you. Bless you.
Yes, lads. Callum Wilson, what's your thoughts on him?
I think Alan hit the nail on the head. It's the win 5-1. He scored a goal. It wasn't a worldly goal. It was more like a tapping, wasn't it? But winning 5-1, and I don't think he's upset. I think he scored a goal. We win 5-1. It wasn't a worldly goal. It was more like a tapping, and I wasn't. But it wasn't like, well, to go 6-1. I think he felt embarrassed for Tottenham, if anything, because he's got friends in Tottenham.
Definitely,
you know what I mean. Yeah. So it's good competition. We need competition up front. If a player's guaranteed to start, it's not good for the club. You want competition in the team, the challenge, don't you? So I think we've got another season out of Callum Wilson. Yes, I agree with the lads. We probably need one more if we're going to play Champions League football.
Go eventually.
If we play Champions League football.
True, Dan. Yeah, true. It's a long way to go. Yeah. I'm not probably chickens either, Darren.
But no, we need possibly one more striker to head up the attack, and then we'll go on from there. But you need competition. Players can't play every game. It's impossible unless they take injuries and all that. So I'm not too concerned.
Okay, water for ducks back this one, I think, isn't it, Kevin? I don't think there's anything to be too concerned about.
Yeah, like Darren said, it's competition, and I think he's realising that we bought a £63 million footballer in, and who's world class. and he's has to elevate his game to. Yes, he scored a tap in from 6 yards, which was a cool finish, by the way. I mean, it is what it was, but yeah, in his mind, as a professional footballer, you have to think, oh shit, I've got to elevate my game to get to his level. But with the games that we come in, but he brought something different in yesterday. If you look at it, when he walked onto the pitch, he brought into the foul that led to his goal. He held up play, he brings something different into the dynamics of how the game's played. Different Isak. Isak's not going to hold the ball up with a big centre half coming clattering into you. I mean, if you bring him on or start him in Europe or whatever, he can batter around the centre half, and then you can bring an Isak on or bring somebody else on, or a young striker or whatever. Yeah, so the competition places, I think the penny's dropped, and yes, his fitness levels, we all know what that is. And again, it's competition for places for me, and I'll keep him around the dressing room. He seems like he galvanizes the dressing room as a group, as a leader, amongst others. So yeah, it's great for the club. Like you said, Steve, it's not weeding him out. It's just as the back end of his career, essentially. Give him some European football. See what he does in that. Wherever we play, whoever we play against. I wouldn't fancy playing up against Callum Wilson in a Europa League, Champions League game, and he just batters them. Then you can bring an Isaac on, or you can vice versa, and then whatever the scenarios may be. Yeah, I'm comfortable. I'm not really worried about your celebration. I wish you'd done the Macarena just to piss the Tottenham fans off. You know what I mean? just for the giggle, but so I'm not worried about it. Just get his fitness right, get his preparation right throughout the summer, like a lot of the players at Gordon's, etc. And we'll go again, and we'll see where we'll land. And we'll go from there.
Where else is he going to go as well, Kev?
See what?
Yeah.
Where else is he going to go that he's going to get anywhere?
Exactly, mate. And he loves it. He loves it. I think he loves it in the city. I think he's, in not a cult hero, but he's joint top scorer. So he's going to get goals. So again, it's managing him in terms of his injury record, managing him in terms of when he plays, how much he plays. Look, play him on a Thursday night, put him on the bench on a Sunday, and then bring him in and take the brunt of a lot of an English centre half, just clatting the crap out of him, and then that might be your job next year. Then bring somebody, the Gordons of the world and Isak in and around him, just to relieve the pressure off of him. Yes, he's the number 9, but we're not saying it's a valued shirt, but it's a valued shirt for us. So, you know what I mean? So he's got a big responsibility of wearing that. Not saying that he can't handle it. I think he can. But again, it's just managing him and his injury record and injury outputs, whatever he do. He picks them up. It is what it is. So if we bring somebody else in, like Alan said, well, guess what? That's all right. We can just, hey, Callum, you're resting for a couple of weeks. We'll let you recover. We've got other people in place. Yes, you might not be happy about it because he's a top pro, but we'll bleed you in a European game, not non-essential game, but at the same time you're going to get involved. You'll be involved in some capacity. Like the senior pros, like Trippier he's running to the end of his not end of the career, but he's getting older, plus 30. So again, it's like the Harrison Ashby blending in and things like that, you know what I mean? And other centre halves or other players within the team to where you'll say, okay, you'll play this game, but we need to rest you for this game. But again, it's squad management at the end of the day. And the competition for places, like Jake and Murphy said, there's accountability within the group. When you play on that park, you have a job to do. If you're not going to give your fullest, well, guess what? There's, like George or whoever said, there's a door. So there's a large togetherness and accountability within the group, which is fantastic to see, which we've probably never had for however long. It's decades probably.
Yeah, great stuff. Positive show.
one more stat about Isaac. You reeled off a lot of them. The one I liked was that for minutes played and goals scored, the only person that scores higher than Isaac is the big centre forward at Manchester City.
Yeah, another great stat.
He's not bad.
Quite a stat. No. Yeah.
One more point, Steve, real quick. The Atlanta United game, the Atlanta Newcastle United Chelsea game, we've sold out our allocation and within 24 hours. So we've sold 2 sections of like 1,000 people already.
Brilliant.
So it's going to be carnage, mate. So we'll bring I'm sure more Geordies and people across the world will be coming into it. So I just thought I'd chuck that in there. And I've got 9 tickets, with family and friends and all that sort of stuff. So
unfortunately, I'm not allowed to come over, Kev, because we must.
Oh well, that's your fault. That's your fault. You're blacklisted, probably. Well, no, but that's another ticketing show for another day.
Sean,
the guy in my post office who sells us me lottery ticket promised us this morning I'm going to win, so I'll see you, Kev.
Hey, join in, mate. Hey, I get for the $700 I spent, I get 2 games for that price, you know. So it is what it is. So that's how the different ticketing works over here. So you get 2 games for 1 in the whole thing. So it's positive. So I can't wait for it.
Good stuff. We're all slightly in extra time, but we'll have a one-word answer on this one. Sean says, who would the panel prefer to win the championship playoffs, Sunderland or Middlesbrough? Go on then, Kev.
I would go with Borough because I know Graham Carrick and Michael Carrick pretty well because I played with them back in the day. With Burnside High School and used to have a kickabout with Graham. I know Graham really well. And he was captain Northumberland side that I was in with won a national championship. So he was a good mate of mine. So I would go with Borough just because I know Graham and Michael pretty well.
The thing for me is Borough deserve it. But we all know what happens in the playoffs. If Sunderland get through, they'll get beaten in the playoffs and then qualify by default when someone gets chucked out who wins it. So,
Sean, you're rich now, Steve.
I know. I think for atmosphere, I'd love Sunderland to come back. They'll be the whipping boys as well because they wouldn't have any money. But on form, Middlesbrough, and because of what Carrick's done, deserve it. But you can't take anything away from either of them. They've both done well. Oh. Darren, if you had to pick one,
Middlesbrough all day.
Middlesbrough all day. Barry,
neither.
You're stealing me thunder, Barry. I was going to say Luton Town.
Neither for you. Luton Town for you, George.
Well, I mean, I don't know if all the lads know, but if there's another platforms, I've got family in Middlesbrough who I used to get a lot of fun going out to see when we had what I call a derby match with Middlesbrough in the old days, and it used to cause lots of good family fun. So, and also the Michael Carrick point from Kevin. I mean, I was chairman of governors at Burnside for 40 odd years. So, you know, I know the Carrick boys and lots of other professional players that have gone through the Premier League, like Alan Thompson, Steve Watson, people like that. So, Middlesbrough, in short.
And Ian.
I couldn't never say that I want the Mackhams to win anything, so it has to be Borough.
Yeah, okay. Well, that was a good question to finish up on, Sean. Thanks for that. Thanks to everybody in the chat. Thanks to all the moderators. I'm back midday tomorrow with Ross Gregory for an hour. Wednesday night, Geordie says Geordie's there. We'll be back at 6 o'clock. Thursday, Super Matt and Gibbo at the earlier time of 2 p.m. Because obviously the match is on Thursday nights at 2 o'clock in the afternoon for Super Matt and Gibbo. And then the Amigos, as normal, on the Friday and Saturday. And no, Gary, we're not going on until 10 o'clock tonight. We've all had a great time. We'll leave it there. There's been no negativity. Take care, guys. Thanks very much.
Good boys.
Cheers, lads. Good to see you.